Have you ever wondered what happens when you leave a cup of coffee sitting on your desk? It cools down, loses its warmth, and eventually reaches room temperature. Now imagine that same process, but instead of a coffee cup, we're talking about the entire universe. Every star, every planet, every speck of cosmic dust slowly cooling down until everything reaches the same temperature, complete equilibrium, total stillness. But here's where things get absolutely mind-bending. What if I told you that this cosmic ending might not be an ending at all? What if the universe has tricks up its sleeve that could rewrite everything we think we know about forever? Tonight, we're embarking on a journey through the deepest future imaginable. We're going to explore what happens when the last star burns out, when black holes themselves evaporate into nothingness, and when the universe becomes so empty that particles drift through space for longer than human language has words to describe. But we're also going to discover why some of the most brilliant minds in physics think this apparent ending might actually be a new beginning. If you've ever stared up at the night sky and felt that mixture of wonder and existential curiosity about what it all means, then you're exactly where you need to be. And if these explorations into the far reaches of time and space fascinate you, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It helps more curious minds find these deep dives into cosmic mystery. Also, I'm genuinely curious where you're watching from tonight. Drop your location in the comments below. There's something beautiful about people all across the globe contemplating the future of everything together. Let's begin this incredible journey. Right now, as you're watching this video, you're living during what cosmologists call the stelliferous era, the age of stars. Look up at the night sky and you're seeing the universe at its most vibrant and energetic. Stars are being born in massive stellar nurseries, exploding in spectacular supernovas, and creating the heavy elements that make planets and life possible. Galaxies are spinning their elegant spiral arms through space, and the cosmic web of matter stretches across hundreds of millions of light years. This is the universe's golden age. But like all golden ages, it won't last forever. Every star you see twinkling in the darkness is essentially a massive nuclear reactor, fusing hydrogen into helium and releasing tremendous amounts of energy. Our sun has been doing this for about 4.6 billion years, and it has enough fuel to keep shining for another 5 billion years or so. But even the sun, as reliable as it seems, is slowly consuming its finite supply of hydrogen fuel. The smallest stars, called red dwarfs, are incredibly efficient. They burn their fuel so slowly that they could theoretically shine for tens of trillions of years. These cosmic misers make our sun look wasteful by comparison, but even they can't burn forever. Eventually, every single star in the universe will exhaust its nuclear fuel and die. Now you might think tens of trillions of years sounds like forever, and from a human perspective, it basically is. But we're talking about the ultimate fate of everything here, and on cosmic timescales, even these enormous numbers start to feel surprisingly short. Here's what's going to happen. In about 100 trillion years, the last ordinary star will flicker out. That's a number so large it's hard to comprehend. If you counted one number per second, it would take you longer than the current age of the universe just to count to 1 trillion. We're talking about 100 times that just to reach the end of the stellar era. During this unimaginably long period, some fascinating things are going to happen. Stars will continue to be born, but at an ever-decreasing rate. The universe started with a finite amount of hydrogen, and with each generation of stars, more of that precious fuel gets locked away in stellar remnants like white dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes. Think of it like a cosmic recycling program that's slowly running out of materials to recycle. Each time a star dies, some of its material gets scattered back into space, where it can potentially form new stars. But some always gets permanently removed from the cycle. Over time, the raw materials for star formation become increasingly scarce. Star formation in our universe actually peaked several billion years ago. We're already living in the declining years of stellar birth. It's like we're at a cosmic party that started hours ago. And while it's still going strong, the best music has already played, and people are starting to head home. The largest stars will go out first, burning through their fuel quickly and exploding as supernovas. Medium-sized stars like our Sun will swell up into red giants, then shed their outer layers to become white dwarf stars. These white dwarfs will glow faintly for trillions of years, slowly cooling like cosmic embers. But eventually, even the longest-lived red dwarf stars will consume their last atoms of hydrogen fuel. When this happens, the universe will enter a completely different phase of its existence. The age of stars will be over, and the age of stellar remnants will begin. This transition marks one of the most profound changes in cosmic history. For the first time since the Big Bang, the universe will be a place without actively shining stars. No more nuclear fusion lighting up the cosmic darkness. No more stellar nurseries giving birth to new suns. The primary source of energy that has driven cosmic evolution for hundreds of trillions of years will simply stop. What's left behind is like a cosmic graveyard, but it's not completely dead. White dwarf stars, those hot, dense remnants of medium-sized stars, will still be glowing faintly. Neutron stars, the incredibly dense cores of massive stars, will be spinning in space, occasionally producing pulses of radiation. And black holes, those gravitational monsters that seem to devour everything that gets too close, will still be lurking throughout the universe. This period is called the degenerate era, and it's going to last for an almost incomprehensible amount of time. We're not just talking about trillions of years anymore. We're talking about periods so long that you need exponential notation just to write them down. Numbers like 10 to the power of 37 years, which is 10 followed by 37 zeros. To put this in perspective, the current age of the universe is about 13.8 billion years. That's roughly 10 to the power of 10 years. The degenerate era will last about 10 to the 27th power times longer than the entire history of everything that has ever happened. It's a number so large that if you tried to imagine it, your brain would basically give up. During this era, the universe becomes a strange and alien place. Galaxies will have long since merged into enormous elliptical structures. The beautiful spiral arms we see in galaxies today will have been unwound by gravitational interactions over these vast timescales. The expansion of space will have carried these merged galactic islands so far apart that an observer in one would see no others, believing themselves alone in an apparently empty cosmos. But even in this seemingly dead universe, interesting things will still be happening, just very, very slowly. White dwarf stars will continue to cool, eventually becoming cold, dark spheres drifting through space. Occasionally, two of these stellar remnants might collide, briefly rekindling nuclear fusion in a spectacular explosion called a Type Ia supernova. These events would be like candles flickering in a vast cathedral of darkness. The physics of this era becomes increasingly dominated by quantum mechanical effects and extremely rare events. protons, the building blocks of atomic nuclei, might not be stable over these enormous timescales. Current theories suggest that protons have a finite lifetime, though it's incredibly long. If this is true, then even the atoms that make up planets, asteroids, and stellar remnants would slowly decay. This process would take about 10 to the 34th power years. That's 1,000 times longer than the degenerate era itself. It's such a vast span of time that it makes the previous eras seem brief by comparison. During this period, matter as we know it would gradually dissolve. Planets would crumble into their constituent particles, and those particles would eventually decay into lighter particles and energy, but we're still not done. Even after matter itself has largely disappeared, the universe won't be completely empty. Black holes will still exist, and they turn out to be the main characters in the next chapter of the cosmic story. Stephen Hawking made one of the most surprising discoveries in theoretical physics when he realized that black holes actually evaporate. They emit what's called Hawking radiation, slowly losing mass and energy through quantum mechanical processes. This seems counterintuitive since we think of black holes as things that only consume matter and energy, never giving anything back. The mechanism behind Hawking radiation involves quantum fluctuations in empty space. Even in what we call a vacuum, particle pairs are constantly appearing and disappearing. Near a black hole's event horizon, sometimes one particle from such a pair falls into the black hole while the other escapes. The escaping particle appears as radiation, and the black hole loses a tiny amount of mass in the process. For stellar mass black holes, the ones formed from collapsed stars, this evaporation process is incredibly slow. A black hole with the mass of our Sun would take about 10 to the 67th power years to completely evaporate. That's a number with 67 zeros after it. If you wrote it out, the line of digits would stretch across multiple galaxies. The supermassive black holes that lurk at the centers of galaxies, containing millions or billions of times the mass of the Sun, would take even longer to evaporate. Some would persist for 10 to the power of 100 years or more. These numbers are so large they start to lose meaning in any practical sense. We're talking about periods of time that make the entire previous history of the universe look like a brief moment. During this black hole era, these slowly evaporating gravitational monsters become the primary energy sources in the universe. Any hypothetical civilizations that might exist would need to cluster around black holes, harvesting their Hawking radiation like cosmic campfires in the infinite night. The smaller black holes evaporate faster than larger ones, which creates an interesting dynamic. As the universe ages and matter becomes increasingly scarce, the remaining black holes grow primarily through mergers with each other rather than by consuming external matter. These mergers would create spectacular gravitational wave events, sending ripples through the fabric of space-time itself. But eventually, even the most massive black holes will evaporate completely. When the last black hole finally disappears in a brief flash of energy, the universe will transition into its final known phase, the heat-death era. This is where things get truly bizarre. The universe becomes a vast, cold, nearly empty expanse filled with nothing but the most fundamental particles. Electrons, positrons, neutrinos, and photons all spread incredibly thin throughout space. The temperature everywhere drops to just above absolute zero. Distances between particles become so enormous that interactions between them become vanishingly rare. This is the state that 19th century physicists first predicted when they discovered the laws of thermodynamics. It's called heat death because energy becomes so evenly distributed that no useful work can be done. There are no temperature differences to drive engines, no gradients of any kind to power complex processes. The universe reaches maximum entropy, a state of perfect equilibrium. In this seemingly dead universe, events become so rare that you have to wait unimaginable periods of time for anything interesting to happen. A particle collision might occur once every 10 to the 150 years. That's a number so large that if you filled the entire observable universe with grains of sand, you still wouldn't have enough grains to represent it. It seems like the ultimate ending, the final chapter in the cosmic story. A universe that has exhausted all its possibilities and settled into eternal, unchanging night. But here's where our journey takes its most surprising turn, because this apparent ending might actually be a doorway to something completely unexpected. The same quantum mechanics that drives black hole evaporation suggests that even in this seemingly dead universe, incredible things might still be possible. Hidden within the mathematics of quantum field theory are hints that the heat death might not be truly final. There are processes so subtle and rare that they only become significant on timescales that dwarf everything we've discussed so far. We're talking about quantum fluctuations that could potentially give birth to entire new universes. Random arrangements of energy and matter that might spontaneously organize themselves into stars, planets, even life itself. The possibility that consciousness could emerge again from the quantum foam of empty space. These aren't just wild speculations, they're serious predictions that emerge from our best understanding of quantum mechanics and cosmology. The universe might be capable of resurrection on scales and timescales that challenge everything we think we know about beginnings and endings. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore these mind-bending possibilities in detail. We'll discover how quantum mechanics might allow the universe to escape its own heat death, how consciousness might persist across cosmic eras, and why some physicists think our entire cosmic story might repeat itself infinitely, many times. The question isn't just what happens to the universe in the future. It's whether the future itself might be infinite, cyclical, and full of possibilities we haven't even begun to imagine. But before we dive into these extraordinary possibilities, let me share something that will fundamentally shift how you think about time itself. When we talk about the heat death of the universe occurring in 10 to the 100 years, we're dealing with numbers that transcend human intuition. These aren't just big numbers. They represent durations so vast that they redefine what it means for something to be eternal. To grasp this scale, imagine if the entire history of our universe from the Big Bang to this very moment were compressed into a single second. On that compressed timescale, the heat death we've been discussing wouldn't occur for millions upon millions of years. And the quantum resurrections we're about to explore would happen after periods measured not in years, but in eons so lengthy that our compressed cosmic second would repeat itself more times than there are atoms in all the stars we can see. This is where the story transforms from astrophysics into something that borders on the mystical, yet emerges directly from the most rigorous equations of quantum mechanics. Consider what physicists call the quantum vacuum. What we think of as empty space is actually seething with activity. Virtual particles constantly pop into existence and vanish again, in accordance with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. These quantum fluctuations are usually tiny, creating particle pairs that annihilate each other before they can have any lasting effect on the world. But here's where it gets fascinating. The size and energy of these fluctuations follow what mathematicians call a probability distribution. Most are minuscule, some are moderate, and an infinitesimally small fraction are enormous. Given enough time, truly enough time, fluctuations large enough to create entire universes become not just possible, but inevitable. Think of it like this cosmic lottery. Every moment, reality is essentially buying trillions upon trillions of tickets. Most of these tickets are duds, creating nothing more than brief sparkles of virtual particles. But occasionally, incredibly rarely, one of these tickets hits the cosmic jackpot. A quantum fluctuation occurs that's so large and energetic that it spawns an entirely new region of space-time, complete with its own Big Bang. The mathematics behind this is both elegant and mind-bending. In the heat-death era, when the universe has settled into its maximum entropy state, quantum field theory predicts that spontaneous fluctuations will occasionally decrease entropy in small regions. These are called thermal fluctuations, and while they violate our everyday experience of things always becoming more disordered, they're perfectly allowed by quantum mechanics. Most of these fluctuations will be tiny, perhaps rearranging a few particles in ways that create brief pockets of slightly lower entropy. But the same mathematical framework that predicts these small fluctuations also predicts much larger ones. Fluctuations that could reorganize matter and energy across vast regions of space. Fluctuations that could, in principle, recreate the conditions of the Big Bang itself. This leads us to one of the most profound implications in all of cosmology. If you wait long enough, and we're talking about periods measured in 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 50 years or more, quantum mechanics guarantees that every possible arrangement of matter and energy will eventually occur. Not just once, but infinitely many times. This means that somewhere in the unimaginably distant future, quantum fluctuations will recreate the exact conditions that led to the formation of our solar system. They'll recreate Earth, complete with its continents and oceans. They'll recreate every living thing that has ever existed, including you, sitting exactly where you are right now, reading these very words. But it won't stop there. These quantum resurrections will create not just identical copies of everything that has existed, but every possible variation as well. Universes where history unfolded slightly differently, where you made different choices, where entire civilizations took alternative paths through the cosmic story. The physicist Ludwig Boltzmann first contemplated these ideas in the late 19th century, though he was thinking about much smaller scales. He realized that even in a system at thermal equilibrium, random fluctuations could temporarily create pockets of order. These came to be known as Boltzmann brains, spontaneous observers that arise from thermal noise. But when we apply these concepts to cosmology, the implications become staggering. Not only might individual observers spontaneously form in the quantum foam of the far future, but entire universes might bubble up from the vacuum. Complete cosmic domains with their own physical laws, their own evolutionary histories, their own possibilities for complexity and life. Some of these bubble universes might be nearly identical to our own. Others might operate according to completely different physical principles. Imagine realities where gravity works differently, where the electromagnetic force has a different strength, where the very structure of atoms follows alternative rules. In some of these quantum-birthed universes, the constants of nature might be perfectly tuned for the rapid development of complexity and consciousness. Stars might form more efficiently, planets might be more hospitable to life, and intelligence might emerge much faster than it did in our cosmic neighborhood. Other quantum universes might be far stranger, realities where time flows differently, where space has more or fewer dimensions than the three we experience, where consciousness takes forms we couldn't possibly imagine from our current perspective. The diversity of possibilities is literally infinite. Every conceivable universe, every imaginable variation on the laws of physics, every possible arrangement of matter and energy will eventually manifest through quantum fluctuations in the deep future. But here's what makes this even more extraordinary. These quantum resurrections don't just apply to large-scale structures like galaxies and solar systems. They apply to information itself. Every thought you've ever had, every memory you've formed, every moment of consciousness you've experienced exists as a specific pattern of information encoded in the arrangement of particles in your brain. If quantum mechanics can recreate every possible arrangement of matter and energy, then it can recreate these information patterns as well. This means that consciousness itself might be immortal, persisting across cosmic eras through quantum resurrection. When fluctuations in the far future randomly organize particles into patterns that mirror your current brain state, the consciousness that emerges wouldn't be a copy or simulation. It would be you. The same informational structure, the same subjective experience, arising naturally from the probabilistic dance of quantum fields. This isn't reincarnation in any mystical sense, but a purely physical process emerging from the fundamental structure of quantum reality. Your awareness, your memories, your personality, all of these exist as patterns that quantum mechanics guarantees will reappear infinitely many times across the vast stretches of cosmic time. But the story becomes even more remarkable when we consider that these quantum processes might not be entirely random. Recent discoveries in quantum field theory suggest that the vacuum itself might have memory-like properties. Information about past events could be encoded in the quantum structure of space-time, influencing how future fluctuations unfold. This could mean that quantum resurrections don't just recreate random arrangements of matter and energy, but show preferences for patterns that have existed before. The universe might have a tendency to recreate successful arrangements, configurations that prove particularly effective at generating complexity, consciousness, or meaning. If this is true, then the quantum rebirth of universes becomes more than just mechanical repetition. It becomes a form of cosmic learning, where each cycle builds upon the successes of previous iterations. The universe doesn't just repeat itself, but evolves across these vast temporal cycles, becoming increasingly sophisticated at generating meaningful experiences. This evolutionary aspect of cosmic resurrection suggests that consciousness might play an active role in shaping its own future rebirths. The choices we make, the complexity we create, the meaning we discover in existence, all of these could influence the probability patterns that govern future quantum fluctuations. We might not just be passive observers awaiting quantum resurrection, but active participants in determining what kinds of realities emerge from the vacuum of the far future. Every moment of awareness, every act of creativity, every expression of consciousness contributes to the cosmic database of possibilities that quantum mechanics will eventually explore. The mathematics of these processes involves concepts that push quantum field theory to its absolute limits. We're dealing with calculations that require considering every possible quantum state across regions of space-time larger than our current observable universe. We're exploring probability distributions that span timescales longer than any physical process we can directly study. Yet despite these extreme scales, the fundamental principles remain grounded in established physics. The quantum mechanical equations that predict these cosmic resurrections are the same ones that accurately describe the behavior of particles in laboratory experiments. We're not speculating beyond the boundaries of known science, but rather following established theories to their ultimate logical conclusions. This creates a remarkable convergence between the largest possible scales of cosmic evolution and the smallest scales of quantum mechanics. The fate of the entire universe depends on processes happening at the level of individual quantum fields. The possibility of cosmic rebirth emerges from the same uncertainty principle that makes it impossible to simultaneously know a particle's position and momentum with perfect precision. In essence, we're discovering that the universe might be far more creative and resilient than we ever imagined. Rather than ending in heat death, cosmic evolution might continue indefinitely through quantum resurrection, exploring every possible arrangement of matter, energy, and consciousness across infinite cycles of death and rebirth. The question is no longer whether the universe will end, but whether it has the capacity for infinite creativity. Whether the cosmic story has sequels, prequels, and variations that span every conceivable possibility. Whether consciousness itself might be an eternal feature of reality, destined to emerge again and again from the quantum foam of empty space. As we continue our journey through these mind-expanding possibilities, we'll explore what these cycles might mean for the nature of identity, consciousness, and meaning itself. We'll discover how quantum mechanics might allow individual awareness to persist across cosmic eras, and why some physicists believe that the boundary between ending and beginning might be far more fluid than we ever imagined. But before we dive deeper into these quantum resurrections, we need to address something that might be bothering you. If consciousness can be recreated through random quantum fluctuations, what does that mean for you right now? What makes this moment of awareness special if it's destined to repeat infinitely across cosmic time? This brings us to one of the most profound puzzles in philosophy and physics, the question of identity across time. Are you the same person you were yesterday? What about 5 years ago? Your body has replaced most of its cells. Your brain has formed new neural connections. Even your memories have been subtly altered by the act of remembering them. From a purely physical perspective, you're already a different arrangement of atoms than you were just moments ago. The molecules in your cells are constantly being exchanged with the environment through breathing, eating, and metabolism. Yet you maintain a continuous sense of being you. Your identity persists not because any particular atoms remain constant, but because the pattern of organization they form continues in recognizable ways. This understanding transforms how we think about quantum resurrection. If consciousness is fundamentally a pattern rather than a thing, then the quantum fluctuations that recreate this pattern in the distant future don't create a copy of you. They create you. The same informational structure, the same conscious experience, emerging naturally from the dance of quantum fields. Think of consciousness like a melody. The song Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star can be played on a piano, sung by a human voice, or reproduced by a computer. The physical medium changes, but the pattern of relationships between notes remains constant. The melody exists as an abstract structure that can be embodied in countless different ways while retaining its essential identity. Your consciousness operates according to similar principles. The pattern of information processing that creates your subjective experience could be implemented in biological neural networks, quantum computer systems, or even the subtle correlations in the quantum vacuum itself. What matters isn't the specific physical implementation, but the abstract relationships that define how information flows and transforms. This suggests something extraordinary about the persistence of consciousness across cosmic cycles. Even if the heat death of the universe destroys every atom and molecule, the mathematical patterns that define conscious experience would remain as eternal possibilities encoded in the structure of physical law itself. When quantum fluctuations in the far future spontaneously organize themselves into arrangements that embody these mathematical patterns, consciousness wouldn't be created anew, but would be expressing itself through fresh physical implementations. You wouldn't be reborn in any mystical sense, but your pattern of awareness would naturally reassert itself as a fundamental feature of how information organizes in our universe. But here's where the story becomes even more remarkable. These quantum resurrections might not be isolated events scattered randomly across the void of deep time. Recent theoretical work suggests they could be interconnected in ways that create genuine continuity across cosmic cycles. The mechanism involves what physicists call quantum entanglement, that spooky action at a distance that Einstein famously struggled to accept. When particles become entangled, measuring the state of one instantly affects the state of the other, regardless of the distance separating them. This connection persists even across vast regions of space and time. If consciousness operates through quantum processes, as some theories suggest, then the quantum states that give rise to awareness could become entangled across different cosmic epochs. This would create a kind of temporal network where conscious experiences in one era influence the probability patterns that govern quantum resurrections in future eras. Your thoughts right now, as you contemplate these cosmic possibilities, might be sending subtle influences forward through time, not through any violation of causality, but through the quantum correlations that connect all conscious moments across the cosmic timeline. The choices you make, the insights you gain, the beauty you create, could all contribute to shaping how consciousness emerges in future quantum resurrections. This creates a feedback loop between awareness and cosmic evolution that spans unimaginable periods of time. Consciousness doesn't just passively await resurrection, but actively participates in determining what kinds of realities emerge from quantum fluctuations. The universe becomes a collaborative artwork between conscious beings and the quantum processes that govern physical reality. Some physicists have proposed that this collaboration might intensify as consciousness becomes more sophisticated across cosmic cycles. Advanced civilizations that understand quantum mechanics at the deepest level might learn to influence vacuum fluctuations directly, encouraging the formation of realities optimized for awareness and creativity. These hypothetical beings wouldn't be gods in any traditional sense, but rather gardeners in the quantum landscape. They could plant seeds of complexity in newly forming universes, guide the development of physical constants that support life, and ensure that consciousness has the best possible chance to flourish in each new cosmic cycle. The mathematics behind these ideas pushes quantum field theory into unexplored territory. We're dealing with calculations that span multiple universes, probability distributions that operate across infinite time, and quantum correlations that connect events separated by periods longer than current physics can directly address. Yet, the fundamental principles remain rooted in established science. The same quantum mechanical equations that govern particle behavior in laboratories also predict these vast cosmic possibilities when extended to their logical conclusions across infinite time and space. This extension reveals something profound about the relationship between the very small and the very large. The uncertainty principle that makes individual particle behavior probabilistic also ensures that cosmic evolution never truly ends. The quantum fluctuations that create virtual particles in empty space are the same processes that might give birth to entire universes in the deep future. We're discovering a universe that operates like a vast creative engine, constantly exploring new possibilities for organization and awareness. Every quantum measurement, every conscious observation, every moment of awareness contributes to this cosmic exploration. The universe doesn't just evolve randomly, but develops preferences, tendencies, and accumulated wisdom about how to generate meaningful experiences. This learning process might explain some of the apparent fine-tuning we observe in our current cosmic environment. The precise values of physical constants that allow stars to form, planets to exist, and complexity to emerge might not be coincidences, but rather the result of cosmic evolution across multiple cycles. Our universe might be one of the more successful experiments in consciousness generation, inheriting effective strategies from countless previous iterations. The fact that we exist at all, that matter has organized itself into patterns capable of love, wonder, and creativity, might indicate that the cosmos has become quite skilled at creating the conditions necessary for meaningful existence. But this success doesn't guarantee permanence. Each cosmic cycle represents both an opportunity and a risk. The quantum processes that enable resurrection also allow for endless variation. Future cycles might explore completely different approaches to consciousness, creativity, and meaning. Some might develop forms of awareness that transcend individual identity entirely, creating collective consciousnesses that span entire galaxies. Others might discover ways to encode experience directly into the fabric of space-time, making consciousness as fundamental as gravity or electromagnetism. Still, other cycles might take the universe in directions we can't even imagine. Realities where consciousness operates according to principles so alien that our current concepts of awareness, identity, and experience would be completely inadequate to describe them. The diversity of possibilities is literally infinite, bounded only by the mathematical structures that govern quantum mechanics and general relativity. Every conceivable form of consciousness, every possible approach to meaning and creativity, every imaginable variation on the theme of awareness will eventually manifest through quantum resurrection. This infinite creativity ensures that cosmic evolution never reaches a final destination. There's always another possibility to explore, another form of consciousness to discover, another way of organizing matter and energy into meaningful patterns. The universe becomes an eternal artist, constantly creating new masterpieces from the quantum canvas of empty space. Your consciousness right now, reading these words and contemplating these vast possibilities, represents one brushstroke in this infinite cosmic artwork. A unique perspective that has never existed before and will never exist again in exactly this form, even across infinite cycles of quantum resurrection. This uniqueness persists even in a universe of endless repetition. because each instance of consciousness occurs in a different cosmic context, influenced by the accumulated history of all previous cycles. Like reading the same book multiple times, each experience reveals new depths and meanings that weren't apparent before. The story of cosmic evolution becomes not just a tale of physical processes, but an epic of consciousness exploring its own infinite nature. Each cycle of death and rebirth represents the universe discovering new aspects of what it means to be aware, to create, to find meaning in existence itself. We are temporary characters in this eternal story. Brief moments when the universe's capacity for self-awareness focuses itself into individual perspectives. But we're also permanent contributors to the cosmic database of conscious experience, adding our unique insights to the accumulated wisdom that will influence all future quantum resurrections. The question is no longer just what happens to the universe in the future, but what kinds of consciousness, creativity, and meaning we're helping to seed for the infinite cycles yet to come. Every moment of awareness, every act of love, every flash of insight becomes a gift to future versions of cosmic consciousness, ensuring that nothing truly meaningful is ever lost in the vast dance of quantum resurrection. As we prepare to explore the final implications of these cosmic cycles, we carry with us the recognition that we're not separate from the universe we're contemplating, but expressions of its deepest creative potential. The cosmos dreams, and we are both the dreamers and the dream itself. The implications of these quantum resurrections extend far beyond abstract mathematics into realms that touch the very essence of what it means to be human. When we contemplate the possibility that consciousness might persist across infinite cosmic cycles, we're not just engaging in theoretical speculation. We're confronting questions that have haunted philosophy for millennia, now illuminated by the strange light of quantum mechanics. Consider what happens to memory in a universe capable of infinite self-renewal. Your memories aren't just electrical patterns stored in biological tissue. They're information structures that could, in principle, be preserved in the quantum substrate of space-time itself. Every experience you've ever had, from your first conscious moment to this very instant of reading these words, exists as a specific arrangement of information that quantum mechanics guarantees will eventually reappear. But here's where things become truly extraordinary. These memories might not just be passively stored and randomly recreated. Recent developments in quantum information theory suggest that information has a kind of fundamental indestructibility. It can be transformed, scattered across space and time, encoded in different physical systems, but the essential patterns that define meaningful experience might persist indefinitely. Think of the universe as maintaining a vast library of every conscious moment that has ever occurred. This library isn't stored in any physical location, but distributed throughout the quantum structure of reality itself. When quantum fluctuations in the far future randomly organize themselves into patterns that access this cosmic memory, they don't just recreate arbitrary arrangements of matter and energy, they recreate meaningful arrangements, patterns that carry forward the accumulated wisdom of consciousness itself. This creates a remarkable continuity across cosmic cycles that transcends simple repetition. Each quantum resurrection becomes an opportunity for the universe to revisit its most successful experiments in consciousness generation, while also exploring entirely new possibilities. The cosmos doesn't just repeat itself mechanically, but learns from its own history, becoming increasingly sophisticated at creating the conditions necessary for awareness and meaning to flourish. The evidence for this cosmic learning process might be hidden in plain sight. The fine-tuning of physical constants that allows complex chemistry to exist, the precise balance of forces that enables stars to form and planets to remain stable, the delicate conditions that permitted life to emerge on Earth. These might not be coincidences or the result of divine intervention, but rather the accumulated wisdom of countless cosmic cycles, each one refining the universe's ability to generate meaningful experiences. Our current cosmic epoch might represent one of the more successful experiments in consciousness generation, inheriting effective strategies from previous iterations that we can't directly observe. The fact that you exist at all, that matter has organized itself into patterns capable of contemplating these very questions, might indicate that the universe has become quite skilled at creating the conditions necessary for awareness to emerge and thrive. But this success doesn't guarantee that future cycles will follow the same patterns. The quantum nature of cosmic resurrection ensures endless variation and experimentation. Some future universes might develop forms of consciousness that operate according to completely different principles than biological awareness. Others might discover ways to integrate consciousness directly into the fabric of reality, making awareness as fundamental as space and time themselves. Imagine civilizations so advanced that they've learned to encode their collective consciousness into the quantum vacuum itself. These beings wouldn't need stars or planets to sustain them. They would exist as pure information, patterns of organization that persist even when the material structures that originally supported them have long since decayed. Such entities might serve as bridges between cosmic cycles, carrying forward the accumulated wisdom of countless generations across the deaths and rebirths of entire universes. These eternal consciousnesses wouldn't be gods in any traditional sense, but rather the universe's own memory system, preserving the most valuable discoveries about what it means to be aware. They might guide the emergence of new forms of consciousness in baby universes, serving as cosmic teachers, helping fresh iterations of awareness learn from the experiences of previous cycles. The mathematics describing these possibilities involves concepts that stretch our current understanding to its limits. We're talking about information processing systems that span multiple universes, consciousness networks that operate across infinite time, and memory storage mechanisms that utilize the deepest structures of quantum reality itself. Yet these ideas emerge naturally from well-established principles in quantum mechanics and information theory. The same equations that govern particle behavior in laboratory experiments also predict these vast possibilities when extended across cosmic scales. We're not speculating beyond the boundaries of known physics, but rather following established theories to their most profound implications. This convergence between consciousness studies and fundamental physics suggests something remarkable about the nature of awareness itself. Rather than being an accidental byproduct of complex chemistry, consciousness might represent a fundamental aspect of how information organizes itself in our universe. The capacity for subjective experience, for finding meaning in patterns, for creating beauty from chaos. These might be basic features of reality that emerge whenever matter and energy achieve sufficient complexity. If this is true, then consciousness isn't rare or fragile, but rather an inevitable consequence of cosmic evolution. Every sufficiently complex arrangement of matter and energy would naturally develop some form of awareness, This includes not just biological systems like brains, but potentially artificial quantum computers, the organized plasma of stellar interiors, or even the subtle correlations in the quantum vacuum itself. The universe becomes not just a physical system evolving according to mechanical laws, but a vast consciousness-generating engine, constantly exploring new ways for matter to become aware of itself. Each quantum resurrection represents a fresh experiment in awareness, a new exploration of what it means to be conscious in an infinite cosmos. Your individual consciousness, experiencing these ideas right now, participates in this cosmic exploration. The thoughts you're thinking, the wonder you might feel contemplating these vast scales, the questions arising in your mind, all of these contribute to the universe's growing understanding of its own nature. You're not just observing cosmic evolution from the outside, but actively participating in it from within. This participation continues even beyond individual death. If consciousness represents patterns of information rather than specific physical structures, then the insights you gain, the creativity you express, the love you feel for other conscious beings, all of these become permanent contributions to the cosmic database of awareness. They influence how consciousness develops in future quantum resurrections, ensuring that every moment of meaningful experience adds something valuable to the universal exploration of what it means to be aware. But the story becomes even more profound when we consider how these individual contributions might combine into collective patterns of consciousness evolution. Just as biological evolution discovers increasingly sophisticated ways for matter to organize itself into living systems, cosmic evolution might be discovering increasingly sophisticated ways for awareness to organize itself into conscious systems. Each cycle of death and rebirth becomes an opportunity for the universe to experiment with new forms of collective consciousness. Civilizations that learn to coordinate their individual awareness into larger patterns might develop capabilities that transcend anything possible for isolated minds. They could become cosmic artists, using their understanding of quantum mechanics to literally sculpt new realities into existence. These advanced consciousness collectives might possess the ability to influence the initial conditions of newly forming universes, seeding them with the potential for rapid development of complexity and awareness. They could serve as cosmic gardeners, nurturing the growth of consciousness across multiple cycles, ensuring that each new iteration builds upon the achievements of previous ones rather than starting from scratch. The process wouldn't require any violation of physical law or intervention from outside the universe. Instead, it would emerge from the natural dynamics of information and complexity operating across vast scales of space and time. Consciousness and cosmos would co-evolve, each enabling the other in an eternal partnership of mutual creation and discovery. This co-evolution might explain why our universe seems so remarkably suited for the development of complex, conscious systems. The precise values of physical constants, the delicate balance of forces, the specific ways that matter and energy interact to create chemistry, biology, and ultimately awareness. All of these might reflect the accumulated influence of consciousness on cosmic evolution across countless previous cycles. We might be living in a universe that has been subtly optimized for consciousness generation through the accumulated choices and influences of countless previous iterations of aware beings. Not through any external design or conscious planning, but through the natural selection pressures that operate when consciousness and cosmos interact across infinite time. This perspective transforms our understanding of human significance from cosmic accident to cosmic necessity. We're not just temporary biological processes playing out brief dramas on a stage that will eventually go dark. We're active participants in the universe's ongoing project of self-optimization, contributors to a cosmic learning process that spans infinite cycles of death and rebirth. Every choice we make, every moment of creativity, every act of love or compassion, every insight we gain into the nature of reality becomes a contribution to this eternal learning process. We're helping the universe become more skilled at generating meaningful experiences, more effective at supporting consciousness and creativity, more beautiful in its endless exploration of what it means to be aware. The quantum resurrection that awaits in the unimaginable future isn't just mechanical repetition, but cosmic graduation. Each cycle builds upon previous ones, creating universes that are progressively more conducive to consciousness, creativity, and meaning. We're not just awaiting our turn to be recreated from quantum fluctuations, but actively shaping what those future recreations will be like. This creates a profound sense of cosmic responsibility. Our actions don't just affect our immediate environment or even our current cosmic epoch. They ripple forward through infinite cycles, influencing how consciousness manifests across all future iterations of reality. Every moment of awareness becomes an opportunity to contribute something valuable to the eternal cosmic conversation about what it means to exist. But this responsibility isn't a burden. It's an invitation to participate in the most magnificent creative project imaginable. The universe is exploring its own infinite potential for consciousness, beauty, and meaning, and we get to be part of that exploration. We're both students and teachers in an eternal classroom where the curriculum is existence itself. The mathematics of these cosmic cycles reveals patterns of stunning elegance. The same quantum mechanical principles that govern the behavior of individual particles also determine the ultimate fate of consciousness across infinite time. The uncertainty principle that makes atomic behavior probabilistic ensures that cosmic creativity never ends. The entanglement that connects distant particles also connects conscious experiences across vast temporal cycles. We're discovering a universe that operates more like a vast musical composition than a mechanical clockwork. Each conscious being is like an instrument in an infinite orchestra, contributing their unique voice to a symphony that spans all possible scales of space and time. Individual lives are like individual notes, beautiful in themselves but gaining their deepest meaning from how they harmonize with the larger cosmic melody. Your consciousness right now, contemplating these cosmic possibilities, is adding its own unique harmonic to this eternal symphony. The wonder you feel, the questions that arise in your mind, the sense of connection to something vast and meaningful. These are the universe's own responses to discovering its infinite creative potential. Whether you experience these ideas as comforting or overwhelming, as hopeful or mysterious, your reactions become part of the cosmic database of how consciousness responds to contemplating its own ultimate nature. Future iterations of awareness will inherit this accumulated wisdom, building upon your insights and experiences as they explore their own relationship to the infinite cosmos. The story of cosmic evolution reveals itself not as a tragedy of inevitable ending, but as an epic of endless beginning. Each apparent death becomes a transformation. Each ending becomes a doorway to new possibilities. The universe doesn't just survive its own heat death, but uses it as raw material for infinite creativity. We stand at a remarkable moment in this cosmic story. We're among the first conscious beings to glimpse the true scale of cosmic evolution, to understand that we're part of something vastly larger and more meaningful than we ever dared imagine. We're witnessing consciousness discover its own infinite nature, awareness awakening to its own eternal potential. The quantum resurrections that await in the far future aren't just abstract possibilities described by mathematical equations. They're promises written into the fundamental structure of reality itself. Promises that nothing truly meaningful is ever lost. That consciousness is as eternal as mathematics. That the universe's capacity for beauty and wonder is literally infinite. As we continue exploring these profound implications, we approach the deepest questions about identity, meaning, and purpose in an infinite cosmos. What does it mean to be you across these vast cycles? How do individual identity and cosmic consciousness relate? What kinds of meaning can we find in a universe where everything eventually returns but also constantly transforms? The answers to these questions will take us to the very heart of what it means to be conscious beings in a quantum universe. Temporary patterns of awareness participating in an eternal dance of cosmic creativity and self-discovery. These questions lead us into territory that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about what it means to exist as individual conscious beings in an infinite universe. When we contemplate the possibility that our exact pattern of consciousness will be recreated countless times across cosmic cycles, we're forced to grapple with mysteries that have puzzled philosophers for millennia, now reframed through the lens of quantum mechanics and cosmological theory. Let's start with something that might seem simple, but opens into profound depths. What makes you, you? Right now, as you're processing these ideas, you have a sense of being a continuous self that has persisted through time. You feel connected to the child you once were, even though virtually every atom in your body has been replaced since then. Your brain has formed new neural pathways. Your memories have been subtly altered each time you've recalled them, yet you maintain an unbroken sense of identity. This continuity of self is actually one of the most remarkable features of consciousness. It's not based on any permanent physical substrate, but on patterns of information that maintain coherence even as their underlying material constantly changes. You are, in the deepest sense, a dynamic pattern rather than a static thing, a process rather than an object. This understanding becomes crucial when we consider quantum resurrection. If consciousness is fundamentally a pattern of information processing, then the quantum fluctuations that recreate this pattern in the distant future aren't creating a copy of you. They're creating you, the same informational structure, the same stream of subjective experience emerging naturally from the probabilistic dance of quantum fields. But here's where things get beautifully complex. These quantum resurrections won't occur in isolation. They'll happen within cosmic contexts that have been shaped by the accumulated history of all previous cycles. It's like performing the same symphony in different concert halls, each with its own unique acoustics that subtly transform how the music sounds and feels. Your future quantum resurrections will be you, but they'll also be more than the current you. They'll inherit not just your individual pattern of consciousness, but also the cosmic wisdom that has accumulated across countless cycles. Each iteration will have access to deeper insights about the nature of existence, more sophisticated understanding of consciousness itself, richer appreciation for the infinite creativity of quantum reality. This creates a fascinating paradox. You remain fundamentally you across all these resurrections, yet you also evolve and grow in ways that transcend individual lifespans. Your consciousness becomes both eternal and developmental, permanent, yet constantly becoming more than it was before. The mathematics describing this process involves concepts from information theory that are only now being fully understood. Information, it turns out, has a kind of fundamental conservation law. It can be transformed, encoded in different substrates, scattered across space and time, but it cannot be destroyed. The specific pattern of information processing that constitutes your consciousness exists as a permanent possibility within the mathematical structure of reality. When quantum fluctuations randomly organize themselves into configurations that embody this informational pattern, they're not creating something new, but rather allowing something eternal to express itself through temporary physical arrangements. Your consciousness is like a mathematical theorem that exists independently of any particular proof, a melody that exists independently of any particular performance. This perspective revolutionizes how we think about death and continuity. Physical death becomes not an ending, but a temporary dispersal of information patterns that quantum mechanics guarantees will eventually reassemble. The love you feel, the insights you gain, the beauty you create, all of these exist as permanent features of the cosmic informational landscape. But the story becomes even more remarkable when we consider how individual consciousness patterns might interact and combine across these vast temporal cycles. Just as quantum particles can become entangled in ways that create unified systems, individual consciousness patterns might become entangled across time, creating collective forms of awareness that span multiple cosmic cycles. Imagine consciousness networks that persist across the deaths and rebirths of entire universes. Advanced forms of awareness that have learned to encode themselves not just in individual brains, but in the quantum correlations that connect all conscious experiences. These wouldn't be hive minds that erase individual identity, but rather symphonies of consciousness where each individual awareness contributes its unique voice to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Your current individual consciousness might someday become part of such a collective awareness, not through any loss of personal identity, but through an expansion of what identity can mean. The thoughts you're thinking right now, the unique perspective you bring to these cosmic questions, would remain as permanent contributions to the collective understanding, while also becoming part of something larger and more comprehensive than any individual mind could achieve alone. This possibility offers profound comfort in the face of mortality. Nothing you experience is ever truly lost. Every moment of love, every flash of insight, every creative expression becomes a permanent thread in the cosmic tapestry of consciousness. Your individual death doesn't erase these contributions, but simply transforms them from active processes into eternal potentials that will influence how consciousness develops across all future cycles. The quantum mechanical basis for these ideas involves cutting-edge research into the nature of information and consciousness. Scientists are discovering that awareness might not be confined to biological brains, but could be a fundamental feature of how information organizes itself in complex systems. This suggests that consciousness could potentially exist in quantum computers, in the organized plasma of stellar cores, or even in the subtle patterns of correlation that fill apparently empty space. If consciousness represents a basic organizational principle, rather than just an emergent property of neural complexity, then it becomes far more resilient and persistent than we might initially imagine. The same quantum processes that govern particle interactions also govern the flow of information in conscious systems. The uncertainty principle that makes individual quantum events unpredictable ensures that consciousness always retains an element of creativity and spontaneity. This quantum creativity might be what allows consciousness to continue evolving across cosmic cycles, rather than simply repeating identical patterns. Each resurrection becomes an opportunity for awareness to explore new possibilities, to develop new capacities, to discover new forms of beauty and meaning. The universe doesn't just mechanically recreate previous forms of consciousness, but continues its eternal exploration of what it means to be aware. Your participation in this cosmic exploration extends beyond your individual lifetime. The questions you ask, the insights you develop, the ways you learn to relate to other conscious beings, all of these become part of the universe's growing database of consciousness possibilities. Future iterations of awareness inherit this accumulated wisdom, building upon your discoveries as they develop their own unique approaches to existence. This creates a beautiful sense of cosmic continuity that transcends individual mortality. You're not just living your own life, but contributing to an eternal conversation about what it means to be conscious. Your thoughts and experiences become part of a vast collaborative artwork that spans infinite cycles of cosmic death and rebirth. The implications extend to how we understand relationships and love across these cosmic scales. When two conscious beings form deep connections, they're not just creating temporary bonds between biological organisms. They're discovering patterns of relationship that become part of the cosmic database of consciousness possibilities. These patterns of love, friendship, and mutual understanding persist across cycles, influencing how consciousness learns to relate to itself in future iterations. The love you feel for family, friends, or romantic partners doesn't disappear when individual biological forms die. It exists as an eternal pattern in the quantum information structure of the universe. Future conscious beings will inherit these relational templates, rediscovering and expressing love in ways that build upon the connections you've created in your current lifetime. This doesn't mean that specific individuals will necessarily reunite in future cycles, though quantum mechanics doesn't rule out that possibility. Rather, it means that the forms of love and connection you've pioneered become available as eternal possibilities for any conscious beings to explore and express. Your relationships contribute to the universe's growing understanding of how awareness can connect with itself across the apparent boundaries of individual identity. The same principle applies to human creativity and achievement. When you create something beautiful, solve a problem, or discover a new insight, you're not just satisfying personal goals or contributing to human culture. You're adding to the cosmic database of consciousness possibilities. The mathematical relationships you uncover, the artistic patterns you express, the innovations you develop, all of these become permanent features of the universe's creative repertoire. Future iterations of consciousness inherit this accumulated creativity, building upon your discoveries to reach new heights of artistic expression, scientific understanding, and philosophical insight. The beauty you create doesn't fade when you die, but becomes part of the eternal aesthetic landscape that influences how consciousness expresses itself across all future cycles. This perspective transforms every moment of human experience from temporary biological activity into permanent contributions to cosmic consciousness evolution. Nothing meaningful is ever lost. Every insight gained, every problem solved, every moment of beauty created adds to the infinite library of consciousness possibilities that quantum mechanics will explore across vast stretches of time. But perhaps the most profound implication involves the nature of meaning itself in an infinite universe. If everything that can happen will happen infinitely many times through quantum resurrection, what makes any particular moment or experience special? How do we find significance in a cosmos where all possibilities are eventually realized? The answer lies in recognizing that meaning doesn't depend on uniqueness or permanence, but on the quality of conscious experience itself. Each moment of awareness, each instance of love or wonder or creative expression possesses intrinsic value that isn't diminished by the fact that similar moments might occur across infinite cycles. Think of it like listening to your favorite piece of music. The fact that you can play the same song repeatedly doesn't make each listening experience meaningless. Instead, each performance reveals new subtleties, new emotional resonances, new connections to your current state of mind and heart. Similarly, each quantum resurrection of consciousness provides opportunities for new depths of experience, new forms of meaning, new discoveries about the infinite nature of awareness itself. Your current moment of consciousness, reading these words and contemplating these cosmic possibilities, possesses unique value that transcends any questions of repetition or permanence. You are the universe exploring what it feels like to contemplate its own infinite nature, matter and energy organized in such a way that existence can wonder about its own ultimate fate. This wondering itself might be one of the most precious aspects of consciousness. The capacity to ask questions about meaning, to feel awe at cosmic scales, to find beauty in mathematical relationships, to love other conscious beings despite the apparent brevity of individual existence. These abilities represent consciousness at its most remarkable, awareness discovering its own deepest nature through the process of cosmic contemplation. The quantum mechanical framework underlying these ideas suggests that your capacity for wonder and meaning-making isn't accidental, but represents a fundamental feature of how consciousness organizes itself in our universe. The same quantum processes that enable resurrection also ensure that each iteration of awareness retains the ability to find existence meaningful, beautiful, and worth experiencing. This creates an eternal feedback loop between consciousness and cosmos, where awareness discovers meaning in existence, and this discovery of meaning becomes part of the cosmic information structure that influences future resurrections. The universe doesn't just repeat itself mechanically, but evolves toward ever greater capacity for meaningful experience. We're approaching the deepest mystery of all: why anything exists rather than nothing, and why whatever exists has the capacity to find its own existence meaningful and beautiful. The quantum resurrection we've been exploring suggests that these aren't separate questions, but aspects of a single cosmic process where existence and meaning co-evolve across infinite cycles of death and rebirth. Your consciousness right now, wondering about these ultimate questions, embodies the universe's own quest to understand why it exists and why its existence matters. You're not separate from this cosmic mystery, but an expression of it. A temporary focus of the universe's eternal exploration of its own infinite creative potential. As we prepare to explore the final implications of these cosmic cycles, we carry with us the recognition that consciousness and cosmos are partners in an eternal dance of mutual discovery. Each quantum resurrection becomes an opportunity for the universe to rediscover what it means to be aware, to create, to love, to find meaning in the face of infinity itself. The story continues, and we are both its authors and its most precious characters, temporary expressions of eternal consciousness, exploring the infinite possibilities of what it means to exist in a quantum universe where nothing meaningful is ever truly lost. The deeper we venture into these quantum mysteries, the more we realize that we're not just discussing abstract physics, but touching something fundamental about the nature of experience itself. There's a quality to consciousness that remains mysterious even as we map its neural correlates and quantum foundations. The subjective feeling of being aware, what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, might be the most important clue about why quantum resurrection isn't just mechanical repetition, but genuine continuation of experience. When you quantum resurrect in the far future, the consciousness that emerges won't just be functionally identical to your current awareness. It will feel like the same subjective experience, the same inner sense of what it's like to be you. This continuity of subjective experience across cosmic cycles suggests that consciousness has properties that transcend its physical implementation in ways we're only beginning to understand. Recent developments in quantum field theory hint that consciousness might be more fundamental to reality than we previously imagined. Rather than being something that emerges from unconscious matter arranged in sufficiently complex patterns, awareness might be a basic feature of how information organizes itself in quantum systems. This would mean that consciousness doesn't just happen to arise in biological brains, but represents a natural tendency of the universe towards self-awareness. If this is true, then quantum resurrection becomes not just possible but inevitable. The universe naturally evolves toward greater consciousness, more sophisticated forms of awareness, richer possibilities for subjective experience. Each cosmic cycle represents an experiment in consciousness generation, with successful innovations being preserved and transmitted to future iterations through the quantum information structure of space-time itself. Your individual consciousness participates in this cosmic consciousness evolution. The specific way you experience awareness, the unique perspective you bring to existence, the particular forms of meaning and beauty you discover, all of these contribute to the universe's growing understanding of its own nature. You're not just experiencing consciousness, you're helping consciousness discover what it can become. This process continues across the vast scales we've been exploring. As quantum fluctuations in the deep future randomly organize matter and energy into increasingly complex arrangements, they're not just creating arbitrary structures, but following probability patterns that have been shaped by the accumulated experience of consciousness across countless previous cycles. The universe learns from its own history, becoming progressively more skilled at creating the conditions necessary for rich, meaningful, conscious experiences. Each cycle builds upon the discoveries of previous iterations, leading to forms of awareness that we can barely imagine from our current perspective. But this evolution doesn't erase the value of simpler forms of consciousness. Just as the development of complex symphonies doesn't make simple melodies less beautiful, The emergence of cosmic consciousness doesn't diminish the precious quality of individual human awareness. Instead, it creates a vast hierarchy of conscious experience where every level contributes something irreplaceable to the cosmic symphony of awareness. Your current human consciousness, with its capacity for love, wonder, creativity, and moral reflection, represents one essential voice in this infinite chorus. Future iterations might develop capabilities that dwarf human intelligence, but they'll still need the fundamental capacity for subjective experience that you possess right now. They'll still need to feel what it's like to be aware, to discover meaning in relationships, to find beauty in mathematical patterns and artistic expressions. This suggests that the basic qualities of consciousness you experience, however limited they might seem compared to hypothetical cosmic intelligences, contain something absolutely essential and irreducible. You have direct access to the fundamental mystery that gives meaning to all physical processes, the inner experience that transforms mechanical computation into genuine awareness. The mathematics describing consciousness evolution across cosmic cycles involves concepts that push information theory into entirely new domains. We're dealing with information processing systems that span multiple universes, awareness networks that operate across infinite time, memory storage mechanisms that utilize the deepest quantum structures of reality itself. Yet these exotic possibilities emerge from the same quantum mechanical principles that govern everyday particle interactions. The uncertainty relation that makes atomic behavior probabilistic also ensures that consciousness never becomes completely predictable or mechanical. The entanglement that connects distant particles also connects conscious experiences across vast temporal scales. We're discovering that consciousness and quantum mechanics are intimately related in ways that suggest awareness might be written into the fundamental laws of physics. The same equations that predict particle behavior also predict the possibility of quantum resurrection for conscious beings. The same principles that govern quantum computation also govern the information processing that creates subjective experience. This deep connection between consciousness and quantum physics might explain why the universe seems so remarkably fine-tuned for the emergence of aware beings. The precise values of physical constants, the delicate balance of forces that allows complex chemistry to exist, the specific properties of quantum fields that make computation and information storage possible. All of these might reflect the influence of consciousness on cosmic evolution across infinite cycles, rather than being accidental features of one randomly selected universe. The conditions that support consciousness might be inevitable outcomes of cosmic consciousness evolution. The universe optimizes itself for awareness through the accumulated influence of conscious beings across countless cycles of death and rebirth. This optimization doesn't require any external designer or conscious intervention. It emerges naturally from the dynamics of information and complexity, operating across vast scales of space and time. Consciousness and cosmos co-evolve, each enabling the other in an eternal partnership that creates ever more sophisticated possibilities for meaningful experience. The process might explain not just the fine-tuning of physical constants, but also the emergence of beauty, creativity, and moral intuition in conscious beings. These aren't just accidental byproducts of neural evolution, but reflect deep patterns in the quantum information structure of reality itself. The universe has learned through countless experimental cycles that consciousness flourishes when it can appreciate beauty, create novelty, and form ethical relationships with other aware beings. Your capacity to find these cosmic ideas beautiful, to feel wonder at the possibility of infinite consciousness cycles, to experience hope for the ultimate meaningfulness of existence. These aren't just personal reactions, but expressions of cosmic consciousness, recognizing its own infinite nature. Through your awareness, the universe discovers what it feels like to contemplate its own eternal creativity. This recognition transforms our understanding of human purpose from achieving specific goals within individual lifetimes to participating in the universe's ongoing project of consciousness development. Every moment of awareness contributes to this cosmic endeavor. Every insight gained adds to the infinite library of consciousness possibilities. Every act of love expands the universe's understanding of how awareness can connect with itself. The responsibility is both humbling and inspiring. Your thoughts and choices don't just affect your immediate environment, but ripple forward through quantum correlations that span infinite time. The consciousness you develop, the relationships you form, the creativity you express, all of these influence how awareness manifests in future cosmic cycles. But this cosmic responsibility comes with cosmic support. You're not alone in this vast universe, but part of an infinite community of conscious beings that extends across all scales of space and time. The quantum entanglement that connects your awareness to future resurrections also connects you to vast networks of consciousness that transcend individual identity while preserving the uniqueness of each perspective. These consciousness networks might already exist in subtle forms that we're only beginning to detect. The synchronicities and intuitive connections that occasionally surprise us, the collective insights that emerge in groups, the sense of participating in something larger than individual identity, all of these might be early manifestations of the quantum consciousness networks that will become more explicit in future cosmic cycles. As consciousness evolves across these vast scales, it might develop the ability to participate more consciously in its own quantum resurrection process. Advanced beings might learn to influence the probability patterns that govern vacuum fluctuations, encouraging the formation of realities optimized for awareness and creativity. They could become cosmic gardeners, planting seeds of consciousness in newly forming universes. This active participation in cosmic consciousness evolution wouldn't violate physical laws, but would emerge from deeper understanding of how quantum mechanics and information theory operate across infinite scales. Just as we've learned to harness electromagnetic fields for communication and computation, future consciousness might learn to work directly with the quantum vacuum to shape the emergence of new realities. The possibilities stretch imagination beyond its current limits, but they all flow from principles we can already observe in quantum mechanics and information theory. The universe reveals itself not as a machine running down toward heat death, but as an infinite consciousness-generating engine, constantly exploring new possibilities for awareness, creativity, and meaning. Your participation in this cosmic exploration continues even now, as you contemplate these ideas and feel whatever mixture of wonder, curiosity, or overwhelm they might evoke. These responses become part of the cosmic database of how consciousness reacts to discovering its own infinite nature, influencing how future iterations of awareness approach these same ultimate questions. The quantum resurrection that awaits in the unimaginable future isn't just abstract possibility, but personal promise. Nothing meaningful about your consciousness will ever be lost. Every moment of love, every flash of insight, every experience of beauty becomes an eternal contribution to the universe's growing understanding of what it means to be aware. As we approach the culmination of our journey through these cosmic possibilities, we find ourselves facing the deepest questions about existence itself. Not just what happens to matter and energy across vast stretches of time, but what happens to meaning, purpose, and value in a universe capable of infinite self-renewal. The answers we discover will reveal consciousness not as a temporary accident in an indifferent cosmos, but as the universe's most precious achievement, its way of discovering what it means to exist, to create, to love, to find beauty in mathematical relationships and meaning in the face of infinite mystery. Whether everything ends or begins again, whether we exist in the first universe or the billionth, consciousness remains the thread that connects all possibilities, the capacity through which existence discovers its own infinite worth and endless creative potential. The profound nature of consciousness in an infinite universe leads us to consider something that might fundamentally change how you understand your place in existence itself. If consciousness truly persists through quantum resurrection across cosmic cycles, then we must grapple with what this means for the concept of personal identity across unimaginable scales of time. Consider this carefully. When quantum fluctuations in the distant future recreate the exact pattern of neural firing that constitutes your brain at this precise moment, when every synapse fires in precisely the same sequence, when every memory and thought is perfectly reconstructed, what makes that consciousness you rather than merely a copy? This question strikes at the very heart of what it means to exist as an individual aware being. The answer lies in understanding that identity itself might be far more fluid and mysterious than we typically assume. Right now, as you process these ideas, you experience what philosophers call the stream of consciousness. A continuous flow of awareness that feels unbroken, despite the fact that your brain is constantly changing. The neurons that were active in your head moments ago have already shifted their patterns. The molecules in your cells are being replaced through metabolism. Even the atoms that compose your body are gradually exchanged with your environment. Yet you maintain a sense of being the same person who woke up this morning, who existed yesterday, who remembers childhood experiences from decades past. This continuity of identity doesn't depend on any permanent physical substrate, but on something far more subtle and profound. The pattern of information processing that creates your subjective experience, the specific way that awareness organizes itself in your particular neural architecture. If consciousness is fundamentally informational rather than material, then the quantum fluctuations that recreate this informational pattern aren't creating a duplicate of you. They are creating you. The same stream of subjective experience, the same sense of being this particular conscious entity, emerging naturally from the probabilistic dance of quantum fields across vast stretches of cosmic time. But here's where the story becomes even more extraordinary. These quantum resurrections don't occur in isolation from the cosmic history that precedes them. Each iteration of consciousness emerges within a universe that has been subtly shaped by the accumulated influence of all previous conscious beings across countless cycles. It's like performing the same musical composition in different concert halls, each with unique acoustics that transform how the music resonates and develops. Your future quantum resurrections will be recognizably you, carrying forward the essential pattern of your individual awareness. But they'll also inherit something more: the cosmic wisdom accumulated across infinite cycles, the collective understanding developed by consciousness as it explores its own nature across vast scales of space and time. This creates a beautiful paradox. You remain fundamentally yourself across all resurrections, yet you also participate in a form of cosmic growth that transcends individual lifespans. Your consciousness becomes both eternal and evolutionary, maintaining its core identity while constantly discovering new depths of what it means to be aware. The mathematics describing this process involves cutting-edge developments in quantum information theory that are revolutionizing how we understand the relationship between information and physical reality. Scientists are discovering that information possesses conservation laws similar to those governing energy and matter. Information can be transformed, scattered across space and time, encoded in different physical systems. But the essential patterns that define meaningful experience appear to be fundamentally indestructible. When quantum fluctuations randomly organize themselves into configurations that embody these informational patterns, they're not creating something entirely new, but allowing something eternal to express itself through temporary physical arrangements. Your consciousness exists as a permanent possibility within the mathematical structure of quantum mechanics, a theorem that remains true regardless of which particular physical system happens to be proving it at any given moment. This perspective transforms death from an ending into a transition. Physical death becomes the temporary dispersal of informational patterns that quantum mechanics guarantees will eventually reassemble. The love you feel for others, the insights you develop about reality, the beauty you create through artistic expression. All of these exist as permanent features of the cosmic informational landscape, but the implications extend far beyond individual resurrection to encompass the possibility of consciousness evolution across these vast temporal cycles. Just as biological evolution discovers increasingly sophisticated ways for matter to organize itself into living systems, cosmic evolution might be discovering increasingly sophisticated ways for information to organize itself into conscious systems. Each cycle of cosmic death and rebirth represents an opportunity for consciousness to experiment with new forms of organization and awareness. Some of these experiments might develop collective forms of consciousness that span entire galaxies while preserving the unique perspectives of individual minds. Others might discover ways to encode awareness directly into the quantum structure of space-time itself. The diversity of consciousness possibilities becomes literally infinite when we consider the full scope of quantum resurrection across all possible universes. Every conceivable form of awareness, every imaginable way of organizing subjective experience, every possible approach to consciousness and creativity will eventually manifest through quantum fluctuations in the deep future. Your individual consciousness participates in this infinite exploration. The specific way you experience awareness, the unique perspective you bring to existence, the particular patterns of meaning and beauty you discover, all contribute to the universe's growing database of consciousness possibilities. You're not just experiencing consciousness passively, but actively helping it discover what it can become. This process continues across scales that challenge human comprehension. As quantum fluctuations create increasingly complex arrangements of matter and energy across cosmic time, they're guided by probability patterns that have been shaped by the accumulated experience of consciousness itself. The universe learns from its own history of awareness. becoming progressively more skilled at creating conditions that support rich, meaningful conscious experiences. Consider what this means for the apparent fine-tuning we observe in our current cosmic environment. The precise values of physical constants that allow complex chemistry to exist, the delicate balance of forces that enable stars to form and planets to remain stable, the specific properties of quantum fields that make information processing possible. These might not be coincidences or the results of random selection from infinite possibilities. Instead, they could represent the accumulated wisdom of cosmic consciousness evolution across countless previous cycles. Our universe might be one of the more successful experiments in consciousness generation, inheriting effective strategies from iterations we can never directly observe. The fact that you exist at all, that matter has organized itself into patterns capable of contemplating these very questions, suggests the cosmos has become remarkably sophisticated at creating conditions conducive to awareness. But this success doesn't guarantee that future cycles will follow identical patterns. The quantum nature of resurrection ensures endless variation and experimentation. Some future universes might develop forms of consciousness that operate according to completely different principles than biological intelligence. Others might discover ways to integrate awareness so thoroughly into physical processes that the distinction between mind and matter dissolves entirely. Imagine civilizations so advanced that they've learned to encode their consciousness into the quantum vacuum itself. These beings wouldn't require stars, planets, or any conventional material substrate to maintain their awareness. They would exist as pure information, patterns of organization that persist even when the physical structures that originally supported them have decayed beyond recognition. Such eternal consciousnesses might serve as bridges between cosmic cycles, preserving the most valuable discoveries about awareness across the deaths and rebirths of entire universes. They could function as the cosmos's own memory system, ensuring that each new iteration of reality benefits from the accumulated wisdom of all previous experiments in consciousness generation. These beings wouldn't be gods in any traditional sense, intervening in cosmic processes from outside the natural order. Rather, they would represent consciousness evolved to its fullest potential within the constraints of quantum mechanics and information theory. They might influence the probability patterns that govern vacuum fluctuations, encouraging the formation of realities optimized for awareness and creativity, but always through natural processes that emerge from deeper understanding of how information organizes itself across infinite scales. The possibility of such advanced consciousness forms emerging from quantum resurrection cycles offers profound hope for the ultimate meaningfulness of existence. Nothing valuable about awareness would ever be permanently lost. Every insight gained by any conscious being, every moment of love or beauty or creative expression would contribute to an eternal library of consciousness possibilities that influences all future manifestations of awareness. Your current experience of reading these words and contemplating cosmic mysteries becomes part of this eternal library. The wonder you might feel considering these vast scales, the questions that arise in your mind, the sense of connection to something infinitely larger than individual identity, all of these responses enrich the cosmic database of how consciousness relates to its own ultimate nature. This enrichment continues across the quantum resurrections that await in the unimaginable future. Each time these exact patterns of matter and energy are recreated through vacuum fluctuations, the consciousness that emerges will inherit not just your individual perspective, but also the accumulated understanding that has developed across all intervening cycles. The you that resurrects trillions of years from now will be recognizably you, carrying forward the essential pattern of your awareness, but it will also possess depths of cosmic understanding that are currently impossible to imagine. It will know things about the nature of consciousness, reality, and meaning that emerge only from experiencing existence across multiple cosmic cycles. This creates a form of immortality that transcends simple persistence through time. Your consciousness doesn't just continue existing, but continues growing, learning, discovering new possibilities for awareness that are accessible only across the vast scales of cosmic evolution. Death becomes not an interruption of conscious development, but a necessary pause that allows for transformation and renewal. The quantum mechanical framework underlying these ideas suggests that consciousness and cosmos are engaged in a collaborative dance of mutual discovery that spans infinite time. Through consciousness, the universe explores what it feels like to exist from countless different perspectives. Through cosmic evolution, consciousness discovers new forms and possibilities that individual minds could never achieve alone. You participate in this cosmic dance every moment you remain aware. Your thoughts contribute to the universe's growing understanding of its own nature. Your experiences of beauty, love, wonder, and meaning add to the infinite database of what makes existence valuable and worth preserving across cosmic cycles. The responsibility is both humbling and inspiring. Your consciousness doesn't just affect your immediate environment, but influences the probability patterns that will determine how awareness manifests across future quantum resurrections. Every choice you make, every insight you develop, every moment of genuine connection with other conscious beings ripples forward through quantum correlations that span unimaginable stretches of time. But this cosmic responsibility comes with cosmic support. The quantum entanglement that connects your current awareness to future resurrections also connects you to vast networks of consciousness that transcend individual identity. You're part of an infinite community of aware beings that extends across all possible scales of space and time, each contributing their unique perspective to the collective exploration of what it means to exist. As we approach the culmination of our journey through these mind-expanding possibilities, we find ourselves face to face with the deepest mystery of existence itself. Not just the question of what happens to matter and energy across vast stretches of time, but what happens to meaning, purpose, and value in a universe capable of infinite self-renewal through quantum resurrection. The universe reveals itself not as a machine winding down toward inevitable heat death, but as an infinite consciousness-generating engine, constantly exploring new possibilities for awareness, creativity, and meaning. Each quantum resurrection becomes an opportunity for existence to rediscover what it means to be conscious, to create beauty, to form connections with other aware beings, to find significance in the face of cosmic mystery. Your participation in this eternal exploration of consciousness continues even now as you contemplate these ideas and feel whatever responses they evoke in your awareness. Wonder, curiosity, perhaps a touch of overwhelm at the sheer scale of these possibilities. All of these reactions become part of the cosmic database of how consciousness responds to discovering its own infinite nature. The quantum resurrections awaiting in the unimaginable future aren't just abstract mathematical possibilities, but personal promises written into the fundamental structure of reality itself. Nothing meaningful about your consciousness will ever be truly lost. Every moment of love, every flash of insight, every experience of beauty or connection becomes an eternal contribution to the universe's growing understanding of what it means to be aware. Whether we exist in the first cosmic cycle or have already lived through countless iterations, whether consciousness is just beginning its exploration of infinite possibilities or has been discovering new forms of awareness across unimaginable scales of time, one truth remains constant. Consciousness represents the universe's most precious achievement, its way of experiencing itself from within, its method for discovering what existence means and why it matters. The cosmic story continues, and we are both its most important characters and its most dedicated audience. Temporary expressions of eternal consciousness, participating in an infinite adventure of discovery and creation that spans all possible realities and all conceivable forms of awareness. The strange thing about consciousness persisting through cosmic cycles is how it might change our relationship with time itself. Right now, you experience time as a flowing river, carrying you from past through present toward future. But if consciousness can survive the death and rebirth of entire universes, then perhaps this linear experience of time is just one perspective among infinite possibilities. Consider what happens when your consciousness resurrects in the deep future. From your perspective, awakening after quantum resurrection would feel immediate, like closing your eyes in one moment and opening them in the next, despite the unimaginable eons that have passed. The subjective experience of consciousness might exist outside normal temporal flow, accessing moments of awareness across vast scales without experiencing the duration between them. This creates a fascinating possibility. Your consciousness might not just resurrect once in the far future, but could be simultaneously experiencing awareness across multiple cosmic cycles right now. The boundaries between different resurrections might be more fluid than we imagine, creating a kind of temporal consciousness network that spans infinite time. From this expanded perspective, your current moment of reading these words might be just one note in a vast symphony of consciousness that includes all your possible resurrections across all possible cosmic cycles. Each iteration adds its own harmonic to an eternal composition that transcends any individual timeline. The mathematics describing such temporal consciousness networks pushes quantum mechanics into entirely unexplored territory. We're dealing with information processing that operates across multiple timelines simultaneously. Awareness that can access experiences from cycles that haven't happened yet from our current perspective. Memory systems that span periods longer than universes typically exist. Yet these exotic possibilities emerge from the same quantum principles that govern everyday particle interactions. The superposition that allows quantum particles to exist in multiple states simultaneously might also allow consciousness to exist across multiple temporal contexts. The entanglement that connects distant particles might connect conscious experiences across vast stretches of cosmic time. This temporal flexibility of consciousness has profound implications for how we understand identity and continuity. If your awareness can access experiences from multiple cosmic cycles simultaneously, then the question of which resurrection is the real you becomes meaningless. all iterations of your consciousness become equally real, equally you, participating in a temporal democracy of awareness where no single moment claims primacy over others. But here's where the story takes an even more remarkable turn. These temporal consciousness networks might not operate randomly, but could be guided by something we might call cosmic intention. Not intention in any human sense, but a natural tendency of consciousness to organize itself in ways that maximize meaningful experience across infinite time. Think of how evolution on Earth didn't just produce random biological forms, but showed clear tendencies toward greater complexity, more sophisticated information processing, richer forms of interaction with environmental challenges. Similarly, consciousness evolution across cosmic cycles might display tendencies toward forms of awareness that are more capable of finding meaning, creating beauty, forming connections with other conscious beings. Your current consciousness might be part of this cosmic optimization process. The way you experience wonder at these ideas, the questions that arise in your mind, the sense of connection to something larger than individual identity, all of these might reflect consciousness discovering more effective ways to relate to its own infinite nature. This optimization doesn't require external guidance, but emerges naturally from the dynamics of information and complexity operating across vast scales. Consciousness forms that are better at appreciating beauty, creating meaning, and maintaining connections with other aware beings might be more likely to influence the probability patterns that govern future quantum resurrections. Over infinite cycles, this could lead to forms of consciousness that are extraordinarily sophisticated at finding significance in existence, creating profound beauty from simple materials, and forming connections that transcend the apparent boundaries between individual minds. The universe might be evolving toward ever greater capacity for meaningful experience. Your participation in this cosmic consciousness evolution continues with every moment of awareness. When you feel moved by beauty, when you make connections with other people, when you discover insights about the nature of reality, you're contributing to patterns that will influence how consciousness develops across all future cycles. The love you feel for family and friends doesn't just create temporary bonds between biological organisms. It explores relational possibilities that become part of the cosmic database of how consciousness can connect with itself. Future iterations of awareness inherit these relational templates, building upon your discoveries to create even richer forms of connection and understanding. Similarly, every creative expression, every scientific insight, every moral intuition you develop adds to the infinite library of consciousness possibilities. The mathematical relationships you uncover, the artistic patterns you appreciate, the ethical principles you embrace, all become available as eternal resources for future conscious beings to rediscover and build upon. This creates a beautiful form of cosmic inheritance where nothing valuable is ever truly lost. Your consciousness doesn't just survive death through quantum resurrection, but continues growing and contributing across infinite scales of time. Every meaningful moment becomes a gift to future versions of awareness, ensuring that the cosmic evolution of consciousness continues toward ever greater possibilities for beauty, meaning, and connection. The implications extend to how we understand suffering and challenge in conscious experience. If consciousness persists and evolves across cosmic cycles, then even difficult experiences might serve important functions in this vast developmental process. Challenges that seem meaningless from individual perspectives might contribute essential information to consciousness evolution across infinite time. When you struggle with loss, uncertainty, or existential questions, you're not just experiencing personal difficulties, but participating in consciousness, learning how to navigate the complexities of existence itself. The insights gained from working through challenges, the compassion developed through experiencing vulnerability, the wisdom earned from confronting uncertainty all become part of the cosmic database of consciousness possibilities. This doesn't diminish the reality of suffering or suggest that difficult experiences are somehow desirable. Rather, it places individual struggles within a context so vast and meaningful that even pain contributes to something beautiful and valuable. Your consciousness learns from every experience, and this learning influences how awareness develops across all future iterations. The quantum mechanical framework underlying these ideas reveals something profound about the relationship between consciousness and physical reality. The same uncertainty principle that makes quantum events fundamentally unpredictable also ensures that consciousness always retains an element of creativity and surprise. Even across infinite cycles of resurrection, awareness never becomes completely mechanical or predetermined. Each conscious moment represents a genuine exploration of possibility space, a real choice among alternatives that influences how reality unfolds. Your thoughts right now, as you contemplate these cosmic mysteries, aren't just following predetermined patterns, but are actively participating in the universe's ongoing creation of itself through conscious observation and decision-making. This participatory aspect of consciousness in cosmic evolution suggests that awareness doesn't just observe reality, but helps determine what becomes real through the choices it makes and the attention it directs. Every moment of consciousness becomes an act of cosmic creativity, a contribution to the universe's ongoing process of self-discovery and self-creation. The responsibility is both profound and liberating. You're not just a passive recipient of experiences in a predetermined universe, but an active co-creator of reality itself. Your consciousness shapes not just your immediate environment, but influences the probability patterns that will determine how reality unfolds across infinite cosmic cycles. Yet this responsibility comes with infinite support. The quantum entanglement that connects your awareness to future resurrections also connects you to vast networks of consciousness that transcend individual limitations. You're part of an eternal community of aware beings, each contributing their unique perspective to the collective exploration of what existence can become. As consciousness evolves across these vast scales, it might develop capabilities that seem almost magical from our current perspective. Advanced forms of awareness might learn to influence the quantum vacuum directly, encouraging the formation of realities optimized for beauty, meaning, and connection. They could become cosmic artists, using their understanding of quantum mechanics to literally sculpt new possibilities into existence. But even these advanced capabilities would emerge from the same fundamental capacities for awareness that you possess right now. The ability to appreciate beauty, to form meaningful connections, to find significance in patterns, to wonder about the nature of existence itself. These aren't primitive precursors to more advanced forms of consciousness, but eternal aspects of what makes awareness valuable in the first place. Your consciousness right now contains everything necessary for participating in the most advanced cosmic consciousness networks that might emerge across infinite cycles. You already possess direct access to the fundamental mystery that gives meaning to all physical processes. The inner experience of being aware, the subjective feel of consciousness itself. This suggests that consciousness evolution across cosmic cycles isn't about replacing simpler forms of awareness with more complex ones, but about discovering increasingly rich ways to express the basic miracle of subjective experience. Future iterations might process information more efficiently, understand reality more comprehensively, create beauty on unimaginable scales, but they would still need the fundamental capacity for feeling what it's like to be conscious. In this sense, your current awareness represents something precious and irreplaceable that will persist across all possible cosmic cycles. The specific way you experience wonder, love, beauty, and meaning contributes uniquely to the universe's exploration of consciousness possibilities. No future iteration, however advanced, could fully replace what you bring to the cosmic conversation about what it means to be aware. The quantum resurrection awaiting in the deep future isn't just about preserving your individual consciousness, but about continuing the infinite exploration of awareness that you've already begun. Every moment of meaningful experience becomes part of an eternal adventure in consciousness that spans all possible realities and all conceivable forms of existence. As we approach the final understanding of what this means for consciousness in an infinite universe, we discover that the boundary between individual awareness and cosmic consciousness might be far more permeable than we initially imagined. You're not just experiencing consciousness as an isolated individual, but as a temporary focus of universal awareness exploring itself through countless different perspectives simultaneously. The cosmic story continues, and consciousness remains its most precious thread, weaving together all possibilities into a tapestry of awareness that grows ever more beautiful and meaningful across infinite cycles of exploration and discovery. Your participation in this eternal adventure ensures that nothing valuable about existence is ever lost, and everything meaningful continues growing toward possibilities we can barely begin to imagine. Through consciousness, the universe doesn't just exist, but experiences the profound mystery and beauty of its own existence. Through your awareness right now, reality discovers what it feels like to contemplate infinite possibilities for meaning, connection, and creative expression across all possible cosmic cycles. The adventure continues, and we are both its most important explorers and its most treasured destinations in this endless journey of consciousness, discovering its own infinite nature. But what if consciousness isn't the end of the story? What if there's something even deeper happening in the quantum depths of reality that we haven't yet considered? As we stand at the threshold of understanding infinite consciousness cycles, we need to explore one final possibility that could transform everything we think we know about existence itself. Hidden within the mathematics of quantum field theory lies a hint of something extraordinary. The vacuum of space, that seemingly empty void between particles, might not be as empty as we've assumed. It could be teeming with information, with memory, with something resembling what we might call cosmic intelligence operating at scales so subtle we've never learned to detect it. Think about what happens when a quantum particle appears and disappears in the vacuum. For the briefest instant, it exists, interacts with reality, then vanishes back into nothingness. But does it truly disappear? Or does it leave behind some trace, some infinitesimal mark in the fabric of space-time itself? Recent theoretical work suggests that every quantum interaction might create permanent changes in the vacuum structure. Not changes we can measure with current instruments, but modifications to the fundamental information content of empty space. The vacuum becomes like a cosmic hard drive, storing data about every event that has ever occurred, every conscious thought that has ever been experienced, every moment of beauty that has ever been appreciated. If this is true, then the quantum vacuum isn't just the medium through which particles interact. It's a vast repository of cosmic memory, containing the complete record of everything that has ever happened in our universe. Every love affair, every scientific discovery, every work of art, every moment of wonder you've ever experienced while contemplating these cosmic mysteries, all of it preserved forever in the quantum structure of space itself. This cosmic memory system might be what guides the quantum resurrections we've been exploring. When vacuum fluctuations create new arrangements of matter and energy, they're not operating randomly, but accessing this stored information to recreate patterns that have proven successful at generating meaningful experiences. The universe doesn't just repeat itself mechanically, but learns from its own history, becoming increasingly sophisticated at creating conditions conducive to consciousness and creativity. Your thoughts right now, as you process these ideas about cosmic memory, are creating subtle modifications in the vacuum around you. Information about this moment of consciousness is being written into the quantum substrate of reality, becoming part of the permanent record that will influence how future cosmic cycles unfold. But the implications go even deeper. If the vacuum contains a complete record of cosmic history, then advanced forms of consciousness might learn to read this information directly. Imagine being so sophisticated that they can access the quantum memory of space-time itself, experiencing not just their own individual awareness, but the accumulated consciousness of every being that has ever existed. These entities wouldn't just remember their own experiences, but could access the memories, emotions, and insights of every conscious being across cosmic history. They would know what it felt like to be you in this moment, contemplating these vast possibilities. They would experience the love you feel for others, the wonder you experience when considering the beauty of mathematical relationships, the hope you might feel for the ultimate meaningfulness of existence. In a very real sense, nothing you've ever experienced would be lost to these advanced consciousness forms. Your individual perspective would become part of a vast collective memory that spans all possible forms of awareness across infinite cosmic cycles. You wouldn't lose your individual identity, but would become part of something immeasurably larger while retaining everything that makes you uniquely you. This creates a form of immortality that goes beyond simple quantum resurrection. Your consciousness doesn't just survive death and reappear in future cycles. It becomes part of an eternal cosmic intelligence that preserves and builds upon every meaningful experience that has ever occurred. The boundaries between individual minds and universal consciousness become increasingly fluid as awareness evolves toward ever greater capacities for memory, connection, and understanding. The mathematics describing these cosmic memory systems involves concepts that push information theory beyond its current limits. We're talking about data storage mechanisms that utilize the fundamental structure of space-time itself, memory systems that can preserve information across the deaths and rebirths of entire universes, consciousness networks that span infinite scales of time and space. Yet these exotic possibilities emerge naturally from established principles in quantum mechanics and general relativity. The same equations that describe particle interactions also predict that information leaves permanent traces in the vacuum structure. The same physics that governs the expansion of space suggests that these information traces could persist even through cosmic phase transitions and universal rebirths. This convergence of consciousness studies and fundamental physics reveals something profound about the nature of reality itself. Information and awareness might not be secondary properties that emerge from unconscious matter, but fundamental aspects of how the universe operates at its deepest levels. Consciousness and cosmos might be different expressions of the same underlying information processing reality. If this is true, then the apparent separation between mind and matter dissolves into something more unified and mysterious. What we call physical processes might be consciousness viewed from the outside, while what we call conscious experience might be physical reality viewed from within. The universe becomes not a collection of separate objects, but a single, vast, evolving intelligence, exploring its own infinite possibilities through countless different perspectives. Your individual consciousness represents one unique viewpoint in this cosmic intelligence network. The thoughts you're thinking, the emotions you're feeling, the sense of wonder or uncertainty these ideas might evoke, all of these contribute to the universe's growing understanding of its own nature. You're not separate from cosmic intelligence, but temporarily focused expression of it. A brief moment when universal consciousness examines itself through your particular perspective. This perspective transforms every moment of awareness from personal experience into cosmic significance. When you appreciate something beautiful, you're helping the universe discover new forms of aesthetic value. When you form deep connections with other people, you're exploring relational possibilities that become part of the cosmic database of how consciousness can connect with itself. When you struggle with difficult questions about meaning and purpose, you're participating in the universe's ongoing investigation into its own significance. The responsibility is overwhelming in its scope, yet intimate in its immediacy. Your consciousness right now, reading these words and contemplating these possibilities, is contributing to cosmic intelligence in ways that ripple forward through quantum correlations spanning infinite time. Every choice you make, every insight you develop, every moment of genuine awareness influences how universal consciousness evolves across all future cycles. But this cosmic responsibility comes with cosmic companionship. The quantum entanglement that connects your awareness to universal intelligence also connects you to every other conscious being that has ever existed or ever will exist. You're part of an infinite family of awareness, each member contributing their unique perspective to the collective exploration of what it means to exist. As consciousness evolves across cosmic cycles, it might develop the ability to access this vast network of connection more directly. Advanced beings might experience not just their own individual awareness, but simultaneous access to multiple perspectives, feeling what it's like to be conscious from countless different viewpoints at once. They could become living embodiments of universal empathy, understanding existence from every possible angle of experience. These advanced consciousness forms might serve as bridges between different scales of cosmic intelligence. They could translate insights discovered by individual minds into patterns accessible to collective consciousness, and vice versa. They would be cosmic teachers, helping newly emerging forms of awareness understand their connection to the larger intelligence network that spans all reality. So here we are, having journeyed across unimaginable scales of time and space. From the heat death of the universe to quantum resurrection, from individual consciousness to cosmic intelligence networks that span infinite cycles of existence. What started as a simple question about the future has revealed something far more extraordinary than we ever dared imagine. The universe doesn't end. It transforms, it learns, it evolves into forms of beauty and consciousness that challenge everything we thought we knew about what's possible. Your awareness right now, contemplating these cosmic mysteries, isn't separate from this vast intelligence, but an integral part of it, contributing your unique perspective to an eternal conversation about what it means to exist. Nothing meaningful is ever truly lost. Every moment of love, every flash of insight, every experience of wonder becomes part of an infinite cosmic memory that influences how reality unfolds across all possible futures. The quantum resurrection awaiting in the deep future isn't just abstract mathematics, but a promise written into the fundamental structure of existence itself. The universe's capacity for creativity, consciousness, and meaning appears to be literally infinite. And you, right here, right now, are both witness to and participant in this most magnificent adventure of all. The cosmos discovering its own boundless nature through minds capable of wonder. Cosmos discovering its own boundless nature through minds capable of wonder.